through this.
What if every call came in with a clean, portable packet of facts that any system could read, share, and act on, and do it in real time? From I3 to EIDO, Next Generation 911 finally gives us a common language for call data, so CAD, RMS, and field apps all stay in sync. And that's coming up next on Tips Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to Tips Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to Tips Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA certified ENP. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today, we're taking a deep dive into how I3 and EIDO turn call data into action inside the console and across agencies. Next Generation 911 I3 defines how calls move on IP networks and how core network services work. EIDO, the Emergency Incident Data Object, is a structured envelope that carries all those incident facts. Think of I3 as the highway and EIDO as the standardized shipping crate. One moves things quickly, and the other keeps the contents labeled, searchable, and shareable. What do we include in the EIDO? A minimum viable payload that helps call takers and responders without drowning them in information includes some incident basics, the type, time, status, priority, and narrative summary. The caller in contact, such as a callback number or endpoint, language or accessibility flags, as well as any consent indicators. Then there's location, the civic address, an XY with confidence, and an optional Z with the method and confidence levels. Safety signals are also important, known hazards, responder warnings, any premise history, or special needs indicators. Next, we have the media references. These are URIs or pointers to recorded audio, stills, or video. We don't put giant files of information inside the message. Just references where to get them. And then the all-important provenance. Who created the data, when it changed, as well as a version tag so everyone knows which copy is current. Then there are things that we need to omit. Not every fact belongs in that crate. Typical things that we skip: raw sensor spam that no one will read in the first minute. Proprietary blobs of data that only one vendor can parse. Any sensitive fields with no operational value at the call taker time. For example, full ID numbers when a short token will do. And duplicate information that causes screen fatigue. Send a reference once, then update the same object. Handoff scenarios that matter. Often the call needs to be handed off, such as a PSAP to PSAP transfer. Different CADs, the EIDO travels with the call. So the receiving center seems the same location, hazards, and media references. Generically, multidiscipline dispatch, one ECC, fire, law, and EMS all consume the same object, reducing retyping and narrative drift. For mutual aid and regional incidents, the EIDO gives neighboring jurisdictions a single source of truth. When the incident evolves, updates are applied to the same object. Enterprise to public safety. A building, campus, or venue might publish a GIS layer, plus a time-bound link to cameras or other sensors. The EIDO just carries the pointers and not the payload. Test like you mean it. A short checklist. First is schema validation. Every message passes validation before it leaves the building. Identity and authorization. Only approved systems issue or modify incident objects. Every change is logged with who and when. Next is happy path and sad path. Simulate your drop networks, timeouts, duplicate messages, and late updates. And be sure that your console shows the current truth. Establish a latency budget. Measure from call start to data visible on screen. And set a target, for example, less than 2 seconds for updates. Next is versioning and reconciliation. If two systems write it once, it's the console that resolves it by timestamp as well as source authority. And humans can see a simple changelog. Finally, privacy and retention. Default to links, not files, honor retention clocks automatically. Governance essentials. First is ownership. The ECC owns the operational record. Partners can read what they need and when they need it. Access control. Establish role-based views so call takers, supervisors, investigators, and field units see the right slices of data. Change management. Establish one-page release notes per upgrade, and be sure to test in a sandbox. And whenever you upgrade, be sure to include a rollback plan and provide enough time to complete it. Vendor neutrality. In all your procurements, require open formats and add a conformance test as a deliverable. Audit and reporting. Implement monthly scorecards on message validity, latency, and data completeness. And be sure to track any trends. And finally, public records. You need to plan for FOIA and establish redaction workflows that respect victim privacy and officer safety. Some quick wins you can start this month. For PSAPs and ECCs, write a one-page data profile. List the fields your console must show for every incident and which are optional. Ask your CAD and recorder vendors for their EIDO roadmap and set a lab test in a dev environment. Create a government huddle with ops, IT, legal, and training where you meet for 30 minutes, review one metric, and pick one improvement. For enterprises and campus environments, publish a simple GIS layer with stairs, elevators, AEDs, Knoxbox locations, and a ground-level WGS84 height above ellipsoid. Also, be sure to define who can press the share button during an incident and for any links that are sent, how long they stay live. And document just one mutual aid scenario with your local ECC and rehearse it. EIDO is not magic, it's discipline. When you ship the right facts in a consistent envelope, every handoff gets cleaner, consoles stay aligned, and field decisions become faster. Start with a small, well-governed payload, test your handoffs, and then expand as your teams build trust. That wraps up today's episode of Tips Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you learned something new. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911, and you can visit 911tips.com for a complete archive of all of our previous episodes. My blogs are available online at Fletch.tv, and my professional website is at Fletch911.com. Stay safe, thanks so much for listening, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. Stay safe. We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to Tips Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on 911tips.com. That's 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the weekend countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.